How do you operate when you're on a team and the person that's supposed to be the leader is probably impeding the progress of the team?
Man, what did LeBron do? He took his talents to South Beach, I think.
It's a good point.
Sometimes you might have to get off the bus, man.
Yeah. That's the podcast intro right there. That's it. That's what LeBron do. That's it right there.
You're now tuned in.
You're now tuned in.
You are now tuned in.
You're now tuned in.
You are now tuned in
to the Juxtaposition Podcast. This is a Cleveland. This is a Cleveland smooth little joint. So welcome to episode 32 of the Juxtaposition Podcast, aka the Extraordinary Nobodies, aka the 5 Heartbeats, aka 4 Heartbeats in the Possible, aka the Starting 5. I'm your host, Varsinio Hall. We are here with the guys. We got Chef back. What's good, bro?
Yo, what up, though? Miss y'all.
Yeah, man, we missed you, man.
Yeah, man. I was actually catching up with you guys. I catch up with you guys throughout the week. I listened in, tap into the episode. So
yeah.
How y'all doing?
Good, man.
Can't complain, man. Can't complain. I feel like I got to give it to Cleveland next because this is like a Cleveland type vibe. Like,
hey,
he would give a motivational moment over top of this.
I could definitely give a motivational moment.
Organs, that's what that organs, boy.
For sure, man.
Poppy, what's good, man?
Everything is good, man. Everything is good. It's been a very productive week. I've been busy. I've been working, like trying to get myself right. We made some commitments on the air last year with what we were going to accomplish this year. I'm trying to make sure they happen, man. So it's been good. It's been action-packed.
I feel that. CEO, what's good, boy?
What's going on? What's going on, man? Just happy to be here. I have not had the greatest week, but my week is always restarting with my squad. So this is now the best part of my week. So.
Yeah, man, let's get into it, man. Let's get into it. I know we all have ups and downs, and we all make sure that let me back up. So we are here to amplify the voice of the modern Black man. Let me say that. And with that, we always have opportunities to uplift each other, be there for each other when you don't have such a great week. So instead of doing the question of the week, let's do a little check-in. We ain't seen Kevin sometime, so let's just give a little check-in on how y'all weeks were. Zoe, you already talking about it. I don't know how much you want to share, but go ahead and tell us how your week was.
I mean, I'm in the middle of some litigation for my business, both against me and against someone else. So it's not really the greatest thing, kind of stressful when you're dealing with that round robin nonsense.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing with legal counsel. So I have a good one, but then also, even when it's good, it ain't free. So you be like, and then sometimes they say, what we learn, work smarter, not harder. Sometimes working smarter is giving people stuff they don't deserve or earn just to save yourself from the headache. And it's almost like when you argue with somebody, you be like, yo, you right. Now, they wrong. You got to be like, I just save myself the energy and the time, even though I really feel off on you. So just put that into like a legal context, and then I got to, let it go.
So if you're listening, Jux's League, put some positive energy in the air for the brother. You know what I mean? I think as a business owner, you just go through things that, I guess, unforeseen circumstances, but we got your back. Got your back.
Yes,
Kev, how's it been, man? We missed you, bro.
Yes, sir. We missed you, Chef.
Likewise, man. I miss y'all too. Everything's going. Everything's moving on. Things are kind of coming together. And I will share this. I had opportunity to speak in front of like a school of pharmacists, and it has been enlightening for me, just to kind of see how things correlate and things kind of come into full circle, and with life. I just thought that was kind of cool to share. But it's been a good journey, man. I can't complain. I'm not trying to complain, really. There's nothing to complain about. Life is kind of coming in full circle, and I'm just happy for people that are kind of in a good space, and I'm gonna pray for the people that need that support and extra energy.
Look at that gratitude. Look at that gratitude.
Other than that, it's all good. Everything's good. Okay, no complaints.
I love to hear about progress, yo. Like, progress is something that we may take for granted, even if you've prayed for it, right? You just kind of going from day to day, like, all right, either this is business as usual, or you're not even recognizing what you've done to, like, how far you've come. So to recognize that full circle moment is pretty dope. So shout out to you for that. Brother Poppy.
Hey, yo, hold on, Var.
up, man?
I think Kev gave Brother Poppy a segue where he said, I can't complain. So, Cleveland, you want to sing that for us real quick?
The song is I Won't Complain.
Oh, my bad. See, is that a half of a hell point? Because I messed the song up. Like,
nah, not at all. I was just trying to deflect, so nobody's looking at me to sing nothing. That's all.
we need an organ. I need an organ on the soundboard.
Yeah, seriously.
You got to get some. You gotta get some. But yeah, man. Honestly, it's funny. I've been focusing on gratitude, so it's funny that you said that word, like, because I've been so busy and so focused. I have goals set for the first quarter of this year.
Talk about
a couple of very important goals set for the first quarter of this year, and I've been working to get it. But what I find myself doing is just being great. Literally, I wake up in the morning and I'm happy that I woke up in the morning because I feel like it's another opportunity to get to where I want to get to. And it's not guaranteed, bro. Like, you just hear about so many unfortunate and tragic things happening. It's like, man, I woke up this morning. I literally have a fresh set of hours to try to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And then, you know what I mean? To Zoe, I just want to say, like, encourage you to, like, don't let anything stop you from your mission, bro. Your mission is super dope. For those who don't know, what Zoe is doing, he's literally giving people opportunities to work who would otherwise not have a means of income, like taking in people who have, you know, a history or a background that other people may not want to associate themselves with. And he intentionally is reaching out to that specific group and giving them opportunities. And in this case, you know, it's a couple bad apples that are just stirring up nonsense, man. So don't let that deter you from your mission, bro. I think if anything is more of an indication that you are heading in the right direction when you have that kind of obstacle, you know what I mean? So
I appreciate that. You know, they say no good deed goes unpunished. So
exactly.
No, I like the direction, Clee. And you know, so just to be understanding, like, life happens for you, not to you. And take all of that. Take it and rock with it. And because you're built for it, and show the next person how to handle it, you know. And that's kind of like the energy that you got to hold on to, because if you let it get you in a different way, then it'll steer you away from the goal and the mission, as Cleveland mentioned. So
yeah, man,
keep on getting on, bro.
Nah, I appreciate y'all for real, man. That's real talk though. Like, that's why we got each other. I hope everybody I want to let everybody know this is the type of squad you need to support. When you say squad goals, like people like that who support you. Yeah, we bug out. Don't get it twisted. But you know, when it's time to get serious, it's time to get serious. It's time to play. It's time to play. But also the support and keeping you focused, keeping you on line. And by no means are any of them yes, man. They will tell me if I'm tripping or doing something wrong. But in this case, they know the background of it, and they know that, look, you doing the right thing. Sometimes, you know, there's an obstacle, a hill, like Kev said, roll with the punches. Just you know, you build for it. So,
and I think it's based on experience. If you've ever charted a new endeavor that nobody in your circle has been through, you're gonna be the first one to encounter all the challenges. You know what I mean? So, like Cleveland said, it's an indication of things to come. And like Kev said, you're built for it. It's, you know, small thing to a giant.
Definitely.
Along the same lines of what we're talking about, is supporting each other. I have the great pleasure of helping my partner, my girlfriend, the love of my life, transition careers, and we have made great strides this week. Last Sunday, we dismantled her whole resume, built that thing from the ground up, and she's had 2 interviews this week with really, really great and prominent companies. So it's like, look, awesome. I feel extremely proud of her and the diligence that it takes to make this transition, something that I never took for granted. But when you're describing your journey to somebody, it's like, oh, that took you way longer than it's going to take me. And then you do it, and you're like, he wasn't lying. This is tough. This is tough. So I want to give a shout out to my girl Tiffany, because she's really making it happen.
Shout out to Tiff.
Other than that, I'm over here waiting for some news my damn self. So I'm on pins and needles waiting for something that's going on my side. So hopefully next week I have some news for y'all.
Does it require a stick to be peed on?
No, it does not. No. No. Great question.
A little juice for the Juxtaposition League. Like
very insightful, good brother. The only thing that's happening to us that we are moving. I told you we're moving. So this is the second to last week. You see the Jux in the background with the TV because I'm going to have an office. Ooh, and I'm not going to have a TV in it.
That's when the big bucks come in. Then be on fries.
I'm about to be on fries. I'm about to be. Yo, I can't wait till Coming to America 2 come out, yo. We gotta have a whole live episode.
Yeah, we need to watch that together, yo.
We gotta have a whole live episode. But I do want to highlight. This because I think this is important. We are 4 Black men, and I'll be remiss if I didn't mention Moneybag Yo is, I'll get into the money, so he'll be back with us next week. Mm-hmm. But I will be remiss if I don't mention we are 5 collective Black men with our own journeys, getting to what we need to get to, encountering our own challenges, but also understanding we are not alone. We got each other's backs. There's never been a time where I encountered a rough patch where y'all wasn't there, and vice versa. So what Zoe said about, the support and having a certain squad, this is true. We wouldn't even have this podcast if it wasn't for the things that we've been through as a collective in the past. So what y'all are witnessing is real. With that said, I'm gonna give it to Zoe for Zoe Knows.
Okay, so this is a quick Zoe Knows. I don't have like a laundry list. It's been a weird week, so I haven't really been in tune to the outside world as much.
That's valid. That's valid.
Pardon me, but
we might step in and chime in and add some flavor to it.
Well, one of the things, you know how I am. I like to start off sort of bad and end on a good note, right? When everybody say, "Yo, give me the good news and the bad news," I'm like, "Give me the bad news first, so I can get over it, and we can be all right on the way out the door." Right. So in a bad situation, which is it's good that it happened, but what happened is still never a good thing. There was a confession letter from a cop that claimed that the NYPD and the FBI caused the murder of Malcolm X, which is not really news.
This is new to me.
For real, y'all know me, and I wear Malcolm X on my, and Martin Luther King on my jacket. So y'all know me. I've already been in tune and watched all the conspiracies and dived in. There's a joint on Netflix, like Who Killed Malcolm X, the whole 9 yards, right?
Oh, that's a fire.
Yeah,
recommended.
I recommend everybody to watch that. And then when you watch it, a lot of it'll make sense. But it was weird to me with the news is this is like the week where like these stories are coming out and it's just kind of hitting me because it's like, you ever heard of you're your own worst enemy? We as a people are our own worst enemy because we always either sell your soul or do whatever it is for either dollar or to get out of something, and you will dismantle a whole thing and get somebody killed. And a guy, what is Ray Wood? I don't even want to say his name, but he was a cop for all these years, and he wrote a confession letter on his deathbed. And submitted it to, I think, his cousin or something like that, and said, when I die, like he didn't want it read. And they actually read it, like a press conference where he read it, and he said, I was told to do this, I was told to do that, and I didn't want to do it, but then they threatened me to do this, this, and this, and said, if I didn't do it, then they were going to do this to me. And then, so then I did it. I decided to infiltrate, and he was there the day of the Audubon Ballroom. Where it happened. And there was always notes that the NYPD reserved it the week before. So they scoped the joint out, knowing that he was coming there. And then they're saying that they even gave the people that, if you ever seen the real movie X by Spike Lee with Denzel, they show the guys, get your hand out my pocket. And the guys running up and they like shooting them at the thing. Apparently, they actually gave those guys blanks. And the shots came from above is what they're saying. That's a theory.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so a lot of this stuff is starting to surface up. It's like weird, crazy news. And it just so happened that it came out on the 56th anniversary of the assassination.
Wow.
And it's on the heels of Judas and the Black Messiah.
That's what I'm saying. Like these stories keep coming out with stuff like this is going on. And that's the only way. I just want our people to know the only way they defeat us is when they divide and conquer.
And if we keeping it real, I know like we also, which you mentioned, we're in Black History Month. When when we were kids, we were like, man, I wonder what it would be like if these things happen in my time. We are living in history, bro. Like our grandkids will learn about this time in particular as like defining moments in Black history. So like, if you ever thought about what you would do in the civil rights, man, you better turn up now. Not to say turn up like get a gun, but turn up and like
I got one.
Be active. Like find your place in the movement. Like,
what's your contribution?
What's your contribution for sure?
Yeah, so that was something I thought that was crazy. I don't know what y'all thoughts on that one. It's like
I definitely think that's crazy, man. I think the whole concept of like the whole infiltration concept is just wild to me. It's like that you can take somebody who's going through exactly what I'm going through, basically jam them up, and in the case of the dude you're talking about now, jam them up and get them to turn, and it makes so much collapse because there's so much tied to leadership, right? I mean, there's so much tied to a figure that's representative of a movement, and to make somebody turn and take down that leader, man, it just takes the wind out of your sails. So it's wild.
Yeah, and they also said that how he did it was by getting the security detail that Malcolm X had, having them commit some stupid crime and getting them arrested like days before. So they weren't dead.
Wow.
Yo, I don't know if you're going to touch this on Zone Knows, but like this makes me think of like one specific thing that happened in the news recently, right? So if you are Black, if you want to be prominent, I'm going to need you to take care of all the skeletons in your closet and handle them before you ascend to your next destination. Because I look at somebody like Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z just had a monumental deal with Moet Hennessy, where he sold half of Ace of Spade to this big conglomerate. If we're being very honest, Hennessy doesn't really invest in the Black community like we promote them. You know,
we spend on them.
right. So I say all that to say, Jay-Z is literally now legally selling weed, getting people out of jail, still delivering the most fire music ever in life, as well as making the bag and continuing to show us what it's like to do great business. You don't think they want to take him down? You don't think that there was something in his background that they could have jammed him up with thus far they wouldn't have? If you listen to the latest song that he got with him and Nipsey, where he talking about like, yo, pray for me, y'all. Like, he ain't joking.
He's
like
dead serious.
And if you listen to a few of his other songs, he's like, you know, they're gonna kill me for this. Like, not literally, but like, you know, what does he say in 444? He's like, these people is gonna kill me. He's talking about real shit this entire time. And if you listen to his lyrics, he's giving you the breakdown and the blueprint, so to speak. So I just say that to say they have historically killed our leaders, right? But if you're going to ascend and help us in a way that's going to make it to push the culture forward, you got to clean your shit up, man. You got to make sure your house is clean. You got to make sure your house is clean.
That's a tough concept though. At the same time, right? Because like in terms of that concept, cleaning up whatever you did in the past, it's like, how do you really do that, right? Like it's one thing to like take care of maybe some debts that you owe, or some
expunge a record or something,
or expunge your record. But even that, right? So like, let's say you expunge your record, like that's going to, it's always
never
somewhere,
really
bro.
expunged.
It's always somewhere. So somebody's going to say, oh, well, something was expunged from the record. We don't know what it is, but you know how they spin it. So I think it's really more about like establishing your character, like making sure your character is straight now. From this point, from the moment you hear this, or from the moment you decide that you're going to be successful, establish what your character looks like from now until then. Because to be honest, your mistakes or things that you've done in the past are going to be a part of what allow you to impact the right people. Jay-Z is open about the fact that he sold drugs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He never covered that up. And I think that helps his impact. He's open about some of the mistakes that he made. So I think we do need to like clean up in terms of getting our character straight now. But also, I don't want that, what you just said, to discourage anyone who said, man, I messed up. I can't even be successful.
Oh, no, for sure. For sure. That's a great caveat. Yeah. It's just like control what you can control. Like we always say, exactly. You know, if there are things in your way, if you intend to lead and there are things that may be in your way, take care of those. You know what I mean? Before you try to become a messiah, because they will use that against you and you won't get very far. So I don't want to interrupt Zone any longer. So go ahead.
But that was good though. That was a good segment. Next on Zonos, we have a little issue here, and I'm getting mixed messages. I don't know how accurate this is. This is a major issue for at least the three of us. I mean, Kev, you went to college in New Jersey, so it's a state school, but they keep playing games with the total amount of this forgiveness for the loan with Biden. Now the target is, and Pelosi and them talking about they want 50,000. I'm with the 50. 5-0, bring it on, right? That's the only time I'm gonna say that. Right. So I'm like, yo, but then Biden keeps talking about 10,000 and he don't know if he got the authority to do 50. Man, did you not just see what happened last regime or whatever you want to call it?
Exactly.
Like he ain't care about what the authority, just do it, bro. Nike, they need to come on. Like he keep playing against us some 10. Now, granted, I ain't gonna complain. The 10 to help, but I need that 5-0.
10.
And then look, here's the thing. Then they saying something about not private schools or something like that. So now I need to know, like, did I like consolidate and now that takes me out of the private sector? Because now
I think you're good. I think if you consolidate, you have federal loans.
All right, so that's all I need to know, because if they really dig deep, we got a problem, and there's gonna be a different insurrection. So, like, yo, where is my money? Joe, stop playing with me, Joe. Like, stop
10,
playing.
10 is almost like an insult. Like 10,000 is still a good chunk of change, but
that ain't that, but like a half a year for some people.
Here's an example. Here's an example for me. What 10,000 would do for me. If you give me a crumb off a piece of a pizza pie, it's like,
because they're not giving you the cash. They're gonna
not a slice.
Away with it. Like, listen, that's wasn't that just like the technology fee at Ryder, like like the meal plan or something like that? Like that's not even that don't.
Yeah, that probably was about right. The meal plan.
10K just to talk to Miss Ann, R.I.P. Miss Ann.
I know, right? Yeah, and Maria. Cleveland is in New Jersey.
It's in New Jersey. Yo, I saw Miss Ann. Side note, I saw Miss Ann bomb this dude who had the nappiest fro ever, bro. He worked at the library. I don't know if y'all knew who he was. Worked at the library. His fro was so nappy. He walked into the joint. You know, Miss Ann. She was like, "You need to go comb your hair," right? So he was like, "Why? It looks fine." She was like, "It doesn't. It's nappy." And he was like, "No, it's curly." And she was like, "No, it's nappy." Yo, my man went to the bathroom with a little comb and he tried to put some water, sprinkle some water on that joint.
Hair you thought you got.
Like Miss Ann had him trying to improvise, bro. But
shout out to Gabe.
Shut up.
That wasn't Gabe. It wasn't Gabe.
That was not Gabe. Shut up. You ignorant.
It wasn't Gabe.
Yo, you stupid. But yeah, so back to that. Ryder and the bill. We need the 5-0. Okay. So I need everybody to shoot for 50,000 reimbursement, whatever the word they're going to use. Just pay them. I'll give you the what's it, case number or whatever it is you need to pay.
Hey, listen, if you just given 10, I want mine in cash. And then I'm gonna make that work for me. Maybe I can flip that into 50. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can invest it and get it back and then pay them off. How about that?
Exactly.
I'll take care of it. Don't trip. I got this, Joe.
Well, lastly on the list, I wore a Knicks hat so I could do this. Bobby Smurder's out.
Hey,
Bobby Smurder's out. About a week ago. You gotta do that. You got to.
That's
so the young guy, hopefully, everybody learn a lesson to get, rehabilitate wherever it is, and it's a big lesson learned because
it is.
We have one extreme with the Tekashi and then you got this. So it's like one extreme or the other. So hopefully loyalty and not selling, because we've been living at selling people down the river.
Mm-hmm.
But shout out to Bobby Smurder. Welcome back. Welcome home.
Yeah, man. I don't have much there because I don't know the streets.
I don't either, but a black man came home about a week ago. So there we
First
go.
of all, I know Zono like 15 people that know him.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's a fact. Yo, I was just locked up when I just came home.
Like, I bet. Thank you for Zono. So now we're gonna get into our main topic, and I should have said this earlier, but this podcast would be successful if we accurately describe what leadership is and what leadership is not. There's a lot of rhetoric and conversation about who is a leader, what a leader encompasses. And I kind of just feel like we should talk about it as a collective. Also in the context of the household, men are automatically the leader because, they're the man in the house. Is that true? Is that false? Like, could you be in a space where the wife actually holds it down more than you do? Also, like, are leaders born? Can they be made? Let's just get into it. So with that question, let's just open it up. Can y'all describe for me, just simply, like, what do you think? I'll start with Zoe. What do you think a leader is?
So people can lead in different ways, right? And being that we love sports, it's like how they used to come for Carmelo, like, yo, he's not a leader, he's not a leader. But some people are more action oriented and some people are verbal, right? So
that's a good one.
You have to figure out who you are. But I just think in general, like the main thing, leaders take initiative. That's like, before we get down and segment it and dissect it and web it out, it's someone who takes initiative to do something that they think for the group. A lot of times they say what everybody's else feeling, but no one wants to do. Like, they do the dirty work.
Yeah.
Leaders take initiative is... We could honestly end the episode right now, for real.
Well, that was a good episode. Serenity
Cleveland, you were going to say something to it?
No. I agree with that approach, man. I think because the initiative is like that's like you have something within yourself to see a problem, solve a problem. Like, don't know, no one has to tell me anything. Like, I'm going
see
to figure
something,
out how
say
to take
something.
care of that. Exactly. I like that initiative.
But you and Kev, feel free to answer. Like, what do you think a leader is?
I'll say a leader is someone who has influence. A leader is someone who can influence someone else. So that influence kind of opens up like the whole concept of what a leader truly is, because, if you think about it, everybody is influencing someone, the people around you, or it doesn't have anything to do with a title or a role. I think it has more to do with, like, if you can influence somebody, then you are a leader and you have a responsibility.
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of say something along the lines of what Cleveland just mentioned. I would throw in the word effectively. Someone who can effectively inspire and motivate people towards a common goal. Because like Cleveland mentioned, everyone's being looked up to someone by someone else, or everyone's being looked up by someone else, rather, right? And so internally, you may define yourself as a leader because you might just be the oldest in your family. But if you can't effectively motivate and inspire, because the thing about that is everyone is different. So you need to know how to encourage people, whether it's, as Zoe mentioned, through action, or is it through verbal? Is it through, they say LeBron James is the best leader in the NBA. And I agree 100% because he knows how to effectively, individually motivate each individual person on his team. And he's going to lead by action. He's going to do the work. He's going to take the initiative. It encompasses a lot. It's a big responsibility. And, I'll just leave it.
That's a great word right there. Yeah. That's responsibility. That's a great word right there.
I'll end it there because I know the definition part is where we're trying to really fish out. And I think it has to do with everything that Zoe and Cleveland mentioned, initiative and influence. But I'll just add the word effective with the word and tie in responsibility on the back end of that.
Y'all, this is literally like being Chris Paul right now. Y'all gave me so many options. I got verbal versus action. I got influence. I got, the internal uniting yourself as a leader internally before anybody else does it for you. And I also got like encouragement. So let's just go with what Zoe was mentioning with the verbal versus action. Here's a question for y'all. Which inspires you, verbal versus action? And which one do you think you exhibit, verbal versus action?
Man, you know what? It really depends on the situation. It's hard to say.
Best case scenario. Best case scenario. Listen, what lasts is action to me. Like, to me, what you do, what you model is more lasting, has more of a lasting impact on me than anything you say to me. It's almost like, as a parent, if I say, here's what you're supposed to do, here's how you're supposed to go, like, I might encourage my daughter in that moment to do the right thing. But when she's grown and when I'm off doing my own thing and she's off doing her own thing, and, like, or even beyond that, when I'm out of here, she's going to remember most what I did and what I modeled. So I think long-term
actions, man. Actions just prompt a response and almost prompt a responsibility to want to like follow suit. But man, words have a lot of power too, so it's hard. But I'm going to say action. Action resonates more with me.
Okay, and which one do you exhibit more? You think?
I probably lead more with I lead more with action. Like the more I think of it, even though I love words, right? I love speaking, but like I definitely lead more with action.
All right. He does love words. Motivational Moment YouTube channel coming soon. So
definitely.
How about you? Which one do you, in terms of verbal and action, which one resonates with you and which one do you lead with?
I think verbal resonates because that's how I was raised. Mm-hmm. And everybody who knows my family, you know, you get it. May not be the best way, but you know, it's gonna motivate you in some way, whether you're just doing it because you don't want to hear it. Yeah, but you're gonna get it done. You wanted to stop, but let me just get it done.
You might be motivated to warm your car up and go home, but
yeah, like I don't have to take this. I'm going home. Like, but I would say I'm probably better at action because of that. Like, because I know I don't deliver the messages in the way I feel like, even when I say, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have said it like that, or whatever the case may be.
But so you don't stop saying it.
Because I don't know anything else. I'm stuck. I already, you know, ain't no go backs now. I already put the line in the water. Like, let's go. So I think I probably operate better off of people telling me, because then I absorb it no matter how. I know how to filter, right? But everybody else don't know how to filter. So I'd rather not hurt feelings or make people forget the message and like pay attention to how it was delivered or the messenger. A lot of people can't do that. So I can.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sometimes the message gets lost in translation by the delivery, even though the message is monumental.
Yeah.
Right. Kev, how about you? Which one resonates with you? Which one do you exhibit the most?
I think I exhibit action. But I understand, like everyone said, like Cleveland said, I know it's important to have the verbal. For me, I think I exhibit more action. And the reason why I exhibit more action is because I don't like to talk a lot, you know, to be honest. But I also will say that I understand the power of verbal because, you know, I have people who look up to me in my family and people look up to my network that relies on my inspiration that comes from a voice, because sometimes I may not have done what they have done, but some way, somehow my wisdom allows them to feel that they can get through that. But for me, what resonates with me, it depends on the source personally, but I'm most influenced by action. I'm influenced by action. I resonate with action, but I do understand the power of both, you know, and I have people who are leaders in my life that may not have done what I've done, but their words alone and because of their care for me motivates me to accomplish whatever is set out to be accomplished. So
I like that.
You know, it just depends. But that's
I wasn't even going to answer the question until Zoe and Kev just answered. I feel like what resonates with me the most, well, what I like to give off more in the beginning is verbal, because I think something that y'all spoke to before, my character precedes me most of the time. So people who I'm experiencing, I'm trying to have this conversation. If I'm trying to motivate you and I'm trying to lead you, then I would imagine that you know me on a certain level. You know what I mean? So I would imagine that I like to motivate, you know? So to what Kev was saying, I may not have gone through what you have specifically, but what I love to do is take past trauma and not waste it. Bring that shit with you. You've been through some things before. You've already unpacked how to overcome a challenge. Let's bring that with us, right? So I'm trying to motivate you to use what you've been through before to get over this challenge. But I also understand none of that would matter if I didn't go through stuff before in my own life. So there's action that also has to be at least acknowledged, but not that's not at the forefront. But that brings me to my next question, something that Kev brought up. And then let's just start with Kev. How do you effectively influence someone or a group of people that you are trying to lead?
First, you have to know what their goals are, and you need to know what their mission is. And then you have to insert yourself in a tasteful way, in the best way that you can, meaning what is your best asset? What is your best self in that particular moment, knowing what their goals and their objectives are, and insert yourself in your best form. But, it's a broad question. I mean, it's not a broad question. It's a conditional question, realistically for me, because, again, people are just different, right? And the people that I came into contact with throughout my journey and throughout my course of life, I think the ones who are influenced by me the most because I try to lead by example in whatever way, whether it's in my own light, whether it's me kind of within my own principle, within my own foundation, the way I think, the way I process my life, the way I go about life. I think that motivates people to see that I stand by what I believe in. So,
right.
So it's conditional, right? It's conditional, but that's my answer.
But I think what you're speaking to is important, because I think some people may think about leadership in this very formulaic way, meaning that I inject this framework, this formula, and all of a sudden I'll be able to lead people. That's not the case. At all.
Because you need it for everything, right? And and I'll give you a real transitional question or answer. An example rather. You might be a store manager and for 5 years at Macy's, right? As an example. And, you lead in your way, you were as manager. Now you may go to a different team that doesn't necessarily need you to do everything. You may not be the best person on your team, right? But you still got to figure out how to lead, right? Because you just telling people what to do and how to do it may not motivate someone in that right
ego.
way. The ego, right? So you got to check that, and that can get in the way easily. That can be an easy blind spot if you don't recognize who you're serving and who are you being a leader for? Is the real thought,
And taking that Kev 3-pointer out the rim and giving it right on the wing to Alonzo, who leads men, who leads people, right? How do you effectively lead your team? And you're not leading a bunch of Poindexters straight from college. So how do you effectively lead your group of
Poindexter? They went to school of hard knocks. That's that's where they from. Rikers University. Two things. I try to lead by showing empathy. Even though I personally can't relate to some of that stuff because I never experienced it, but I have a little bit of empathy because let's say I had a family member or someone, and with the empathy is not I'm feeling sorry for you, but it's I get it, but here's where we at now, and I'm gonna help you. If you keep promoting what I can do for them, don't you like this? Don't you like? I try to find things that's hit the light bulb for them. You know what I mean? These are things that they like, or these are things they want, and then also showing I guess the one thing that burns me by leading when this situation is giving second chances. You're getting, and I've given second chances and third chances even within the job. You know what I'm saying? Forget about the fact that you out here is a second chance, but just kind of explaining and walking them through certain things, right? Because sometimes people don't know, they only know one way of life. And then if you show them something different and show them where they could be successful, and then also reward them for that.
Shout out to episode 25, Forgive or Forget, where Alonzo also said that he did not forgive. Look at that, second chance. Look at God.
I ain't forget though.
God. Hallelujah.
That shit going to tally mark.
He ain't lying.
I gotta give you 5 chances. Over.
He ain't lying.
Yeah, nah. So I mean, I think just everything is to I want to say just kind of putting something tangible in front of them.
Nah, Zoe, you on deck. I like where you're going, and I was going to applaud you just for being a leader in that light, because sometimes leaders create leaders, and that's a big part of leadership, because you want someone else to be where you are, and that's super leadership. You know what I'm saying? So I was just kind of going to go along with that.
So Cleveland, I wanted to ask you the same question. We always think of leadership in a very condensed way where if you're not a leader at work, if you don't have direct reports, you're not a leader, if you don't have a team, not a leader, talk to me about how you can effectively influence when you're not labeled a traditional leader.
Oh man, I think it's a couple things. I think what I heard Kev say, what I heard Zoe say is one of the key elements is understanding who it is that you're serving as a leader. I think it's just so important to understand that leadership comes from a place of servitude. Like that's a juxtaposition in itself. Like so many people want to be leaders for the sake of being a leader, but they don't even know who they're serving. You cannot be a leader.
They don't know themselves.
Don't know who you're serving, bro. Mm-hmm. So like Zoe understands who it is that he's serving. KV was talking about how different people are motivated by different things. And in a nutshell, he was saying, understand who it is that you're serving so that you can lead them. So I think the number one thing you have to do is understand who it is that you're serving. And when you're coming from a place where I want to do my best to serve this group of people, that's how your passion and your influence, your passion is going to cause you to have influence with others. For example, I don't have any direct reports at work. I don't have any direct reports. If I want to get something done, I have to have influence with other functional areas within the organization to make it happen. How I do that is honestly allowing them to not only see the benefit to the people that I serve, but also see how it relates to a benefit to the people that they serve. So I take myself out of it. I'm like, listen, I know I want to get this done, but the main reason I want to get this done is to serve this group. And I also think it's going to help with this other group who you also serve. And that's how we can work together to get this done. So I think at the foundation level of it, understand that you are a servant. You are serving the people that you lead. And then on the flip side of that, I think in terms of influence, you have to help other people see how what they do is going to impact the people that they serve. So I would say that.
Yeah. And if you're listening, there are multiple. This is what I studied in grad school. There are multiple levels of leadership that you can literally study. If you got your iPhone handy, look up servant leadership, look up compassionate leadership. There are multiple different ways where people have leadership styles that may fit into a framework, but it speaks to everything that we're talking about now. So going about, like, summarize what y'all are saying is, knowing your target audience, you really can't produce anything if you don't know who you're producing for. I'll add one thing. Cleveland mentioned that it's not all about you. And I agree with that. But I think an alternative area of leadership is when people know what you do well, so they can tap you when the thing is in your wheelhouse. For instance, I like to go around and say, like, there are two things that you can call on me for at any point in time. Like, these are the things that are in my wheelhouse. So when somebody needs you for something, they can tap you for that, and you take it, and then you implement the things that we're speaking about.
Could I say something about what you just said? Because you opened the door.
Go ahead.
I think that's another important aspect of leadership, knowing yourself, right? But knowing your strengths. You owe it to the people who you will influence or impact to be excellent at the things that you're naturally good at.
Oh, he cooking now.
If you're naturally good at networking, VAR is naturally good at networking. He knows how to work a room. He knows how to make connections, all of that stuff. You owe it to the people who you're going to impact to stay excellent at it. You know what I mean? KV owes it to the people that he influences to stay on top of the game when it comes to public health. Zoe owes it to the people that he's serving to stay on top of the game in terms of entrepreneurship. So that's another aspect of leadership. And whatever it is that you're good at, work that thing. It's like you owe it to the people you serve to be excellent at it so that they can reach for you in those times. Imagine if you fell off from networking, or if KV fell off from public health, or if Zoe just was like, nah, I no more second chances. That's it. I'm sick of y'all.
Yeah, I'm
about to say something else wild, but
I've said it like 15 times. Y'all not gonna lie to you when you say that. And my right hand man, Storm, be like, yo, I know he obviously helps defend these people sometimes too, right?
Right.
But he knows I be going through. He be like, let me talk to him, because I'm gonna give him the real and let him know, like, I just don't want you to not be you. Like, don't let them turn you into the monster. I know it's in you, but don't.
Y'all Styles P and Jadakiss?
Yeah, pretty much we go bar for bar. But it's true, yo, because I owe it to them. Like, you know what? Then I'm not who I said I was. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah.
And I get and this is a perfect segue. I'm glad you stepped in, Cleveland, because one thing that we often talk about is people who crown themselves as leaders when they are not ready. So how do you listen to your internal intuition that's telling you to be a leader versus listening to it when it's a little bit premature and you have ego on your side? Like, how do you monitor when it's time to lead and when it's time to fall back?
You gotta be humble. Yeah.
Oh, humble is so.
Humility. Just if you lead with humility, then the time will allow you to rise at the moment that's necessary for you. And if you lead with anything else, then you pretty much put the target on your back for people to resent you for being a leader in the position at the moment. And you're not going to get to the end goal because you're not going to have everyone buy in, and then you're going to have conflict within your group, and then it's going to crumble in front of you. The thing about it is we all think leadership is bright, shiny armor, warrior, right? In reality, it's the person who's going to put people in the right position to do what they do well. It's an organizer, it's a team captain or a coach, and he's not the best player on the team. You know, he takes or she takes themselves out of the equation, as Cleveland mentioned, and allow the moment to be the moment. And the moment there'll be a moment where your leadership will be highlighted because it's just going to happen naturally and organically. You don't have to force leadership. That's never.
And you said something key. It's often not glamorous. You may be the face of something, but you putting in the hours, you're strategizing on behalf of the people who don't even know. The people you're serving are asleep. You're thinking about how can I make their day better? How can I get them to the bag? You have to consume yourself with what it means to make the team better. And you often don't get credit until the team wins. The leader don't get credit when he or she wins. You are measured by the success of your team, not the success of yourself. So going back to the question, Jordan. I mean, they say that he's the greatest. Yeah. So,
but like Kev said with LeBron, like, yo, you can't tell me he's not the greatest leader because, like, he got people who don't even deserve half the opportunities or the money or whatever.
He leaves the city. The whole city goes upside down. The whole city, bro. That's one thing because of his athletic prowess, but it's something about, so we all know, you know, AI took a team of bums to the NBA finals in 2001, right? AI, for all he's worth, he had his trials and tribulations about what it meant to be a leader. He used to be called selfish, what have you. Got the right coach, was able to, you know, take his team to the championship. But LeBron did that 10 out of 11 years, like taking a team of misfits to the chip outside of his Miami years. There were not misfits in the 1 year with Kyrie and them. But you got to give it up for, like, yo, this is wild. Like, how does he do it?
What you really got to give him to, like, and I'm not huge into sports and knowing the stats and knowing everything that he did. One thing I do know, though, anytime, it's so impressive to me, anytime you see LeBron go into a team, you see the culture of that team change. And what I mean by that is, I remember when he went back to the Cavs after he left Miami, and it looked like I don't really hoop like that, but I wanted to be on that team. It looked like they was having so much fun. Not only that, like, he had, like, with the handshakes, he has a different handshake.
Point. That was to
everybody.
Point. Yep.
Everybody got a different joint.
I can't remember.
I'm like, he walked by one person, he walked by. I'm like, yo, but that's the true impact of a leader. Everybody's included. Like, you got a special handshake, bro. If anything, I could be the last man to ever.
Like the
that's what I'm saying, bro. Like, what does that do for your life, yo? What impact does that have on you as a team member to know, like, listen, my only stat is minutes per game and it's 0.5. But I got a special handshake with LeBron James, bro. Like,
yo,
I'm just saying,
sharing your light You know, what we say is when you get to a certain level in your career or even your enlightenment, you know, you learn things like there's enough money for everybody, right? There's no need to hoard the money, but there's also enough opportunity and light for everybody. If Kevin is the leader, and if Kev sees that there's somebody that's talented that's alongside him that's not getting shine, Kev gonna put his arm around him and be like, yo, he's next. Or like, let me show you how this is done. Let me put you in front of it. It's certain things like that and sharing your light. And LeBron having the opportunity to have different handshakes with each member of the team is like he's sharing his light. They may be photographed with a secret handshake with LeBron. You know, if that person ever pops off, they'll show this footage. Whereas before it wouldn't have happened. But it kind of goes back to the original question. Cleveland, I want your take on it. What is your perspective on folks crowning themselves a leader before they're ready to do so?
I think you have to do, it takes a certain level of maturity because you have to do some self-evaluation and you really have to ask yourself why. Like, why do I want to be a leader right now? And if all of your answers for your why come back to you, all of them I'm talking about, or even most of them come back to you. I want to be a leader because I want to make money, or I want people to think I'm important, or that's where you know you're going wrong. If your why is off, then you know that you're kind of headed for a path of destruction. But check your why. Why do I want to be a leader? And if it's not focused on something other than yourself, then I would say it's probably not time for you to be a leader just yet.
Yeah, man, y'all cooking with grease now. I mean, let's just keep it going with. Do y'all think that leaders are born, or only born? Do you think leaders can be made?
I definitely think they can
both.
be made.
I think both.
You got to pick a side.
Nah, listen. I'm gonna tell you why, right? Because some of the things that we all been dropping is like the characteristics of what not to do. Like I'm looking just now, like greed, pride, like envy and stuff like that. Like these are the 7 deadly sins. Like you know what I'm saying? Like those are things, that's why they put it on there. But I think the reason why I say both is because some people just have, like my grandma and them used to say, that it factor, right? Some people have it. But a lot of times what I think helps develop a leader is their experience. So you are now developing into one, right? Life experiences can sometimes turn you into something that you didn't know you. And then some people say, well, it was always in you, but I didn't know that without that experience. I didn't just wake up and hit a free throw. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure that as much as we think that people did, like their experiences, some of their losses build the leadership, some of their pain. You know what I mean? And then they build on top of that. I think that's why I said both.
You know, it's fucked up. You gave good points. I'm gonna discount that whole shit because you choose one. Kev, how you feel? Do you think the leaders are only born or can they be made?
I think that is how you define the word leader at that time, and who and where you're putting that person in a position to do what. Because I'm gonna say it this way, right? It's not a terrible question. It's just that some people will say they're only born, and the reason why they're saying this because that's who they would want to lead them. Right.
Oh, okay.
And, okay. So people will say that. People say, yeah, I want leaders only born because you want somebody you want that MJ, you want that LeBron to be your leader versus someone who you have to wait for their transformation to take place and to happen and to kind of go in through it. Like, you're not going to want that individual. Unfortunately,
I don't know if y'all was able to see what Kevin just did. He was Houdini. He was locked in the straitjacket and he wiggled out that thing, boy. He came out with the he came out. But yo, you make a fantastic point.
That's what I'm saying. So for me, it's just I'll give you 2 levels of leadership, and then I'll tell you which one you fit. So if an elite leader, they're born, but a prominent leader is you can pretty much breed a leader to be in any position with the right people around them, with the right resources, with the right wisdom. You can build the leader, but elite leaders are born, in my opinion. There's a few of those, and that's why they're who they are.
I like that.
Can I give an example too? If you compare like America's favorite hero, right? That they like Martin Luther King, right? Some would say Martin Luther King was born. His dad was a reverend. Man was like 15 in college. Like he just was doing this stuff. Like it came out the gate. Then you look at Malcolm X, who had to transition from Malcolm Little, Red, went to jail, was running with streets with Red Fox. You know what I'm saying? And then went
Red and Red?
Yeah, you ain't know that was his man's. There's a lot of pictures of them together back in the day with the slick back. But
the conch,
yeah. Hey nigga, get your head out the shitter. Remember that? Anyway, so yeah, like that's kind of like what Kev just described. Like, but a lot of people at the time wasn't listening because Malcolm was still like developing and learning and this.
Right. It's the whole cocoon and butterfly vibe. Like, would you listen to the cocoon if it spoke, or would you listen to the butterfly?
After
you know what
done.
I mean?
Yeah.
Right. I know my man, Mr. Poppy, got the tiebreaker. I just know he got it in him. He got it in him. So are leaders born or can they be made?
I honestly believe that leaders are made. And what I mean by that is everybody has something inside of them. Literally everybody. Everybody has good qualities inside of them, or qualities inside of them that make them specifically unique. Why I say made and how I mean made, I don't mean like literally somebody teaching someone else how to be a leader. I think you're made into a leader by your experiences and by the own revelation of who you are. Like when you come to the experience of who you actually are, that's what makes you a leader. Because when you understand who you are and the qualities that you have, and you start focusing on those, that's when other people are drawn to you. Like, and I think that everybody has that thing inside. Like you talk about Malcolm X, who became a leader. He had leadership qualities before he was seen as the leader that we know. He just
not the world's,
he pivoted.
Just not the world's eye. Right. Right.
Yeah. He pivoted kind of, right. He was like headed in one path and then he pivoted. Biblically, you see Saul, who's known as the Apostle Paul in the New Testament. He was killing Christians. He pivoted and then he became like basically the ultimate Christian. He wrote most of the New Testament. So like his leadership qualities were already there. The equipment was already there. It just had to be revealed or exposed, if you will, so that it could be in a positive light versus a negative. I honestly believe that leaders can be made, but it starts with the realization of
a dream come true.
Realization of who you are.
Shut up, Alonzo. But you make a great point. If you go to the biblical reference, and we're going to fast forward to today, there's a thing that we know to be the internet. Also a thing that's on the internet that's called social media, most notably things like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, where groupthink is very prominent. What I mean by groupthink is where folks feel as if they need to be what the crowd is in order to be hot or to stand out. How do you think one can become a leader in 2021 with the presence of social media?
This may sting, but they have to be able to live with all the criticism that comes with doing the right thing. And even if that means doing it because this is the thing that you have to do. So if you're trying to become a leader, the best way to do that in today's time is to be able to block the noise. You gotta be able to block the noise. There's so much misguidance and information on social media that you can easily try to please everybody and find yourself in a wrong bucket.
Right.
You got to be able to know that criticism comes. People are not gonna like everything that you do, and you still have to be able to still follow through with whatever objective, despite whatever criticism might come your way, because they're gonna come. And
but where did they get those? Where did they get these lessons from? Like, I want Zoe and Cleveland, I want y'all to answer the question, but what Kev is saying is important. But I want to know, where do they get the lessons from about how to abstain from being with the crowd? Nobody's saying, people may say, hell yeah, you got to stand out. But who's giving the lessons on how to do that? Where do they get it from?
I don't think there's lessons for that. I think that's where I think that's natural. I don't know if there's a lesson on how to stand out, right? No?
I think it's learned a little bit, to be honest with you. I think you have to learn that making a decision that might not be aligned with the people that you hang with or the people that you identify with is okay, right? I think I remember, like, I tell a story from way back. I remember I was into like riding bikes, like a BMX bike, and I first saw like the X Games.
You had bike and glasses. You was just crazy,
yo, bro. I thought I was gonna be like the dude doing all the tricks on the X Games or whatever, and this dude from around the corner was like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't do that, essentially, right? Like, that's not the industry that we go into. Like, that's
in the P section.
People do. Yeah, in the P section. So, like, to me, like, that threw me off. Had I known to make a decision that was not aligned with other people who were like me were doing, I might have been on a completely different path or completely different direction right now. You know what I mean? So I think things like that are learned. I don't know if you, I don't know. You said, where do you get these lessons? I think you learn them in hindsight. Right. You see that, like, man, like, I should have just stuck to my guns here. Now, the next time around, I'm going to stick to the way that I believe it should work, or my point of view, or whatever the case may be.
But what about the fact that you were already doing something different that was from everybody else? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that was standing out in itself, to where before homeboy decided to shoot you down from being the next Tony Hawk or something like that, like, you was already
that's a
there,
good point.
I think.
Maybe Cleveland's inclination to be different allowed him to choose, but maybe the lack of experience didn't allow you to persist. Like, if you know what it takes to continue, if you know that you got to listen to yourself, your intuition, more than you listen to everybody else, then that's an easier journey to figure. But you had to go through that in order to know that, like, shut your fat ass up. I ain't listening to you.
So why you gotta be fat, though? He said nigga was fat, though.
I don't know, grown man riding a bike, though. You know what I'm saying?
So does that, like, because ultimately, you know, Cleveland referenced a youth experience where if you're not groomed to know who you are, if you're not given the opportunity to learn who you are at the right time, then you know, you may not have the skill to discern information that is gonna push your mission and push your goals and push your ultimate purpose. You know, but when we're talking about today's time, we talk about people who are either, you know, the 18 college age type vibes, right? I'm assuming we're kind of speaking to. You know, you got to know who you are, and and here's a test, right? I guess to answer your question, satisfy your question, Jabars, I'll say, if you have an internal purpose and you actually try to live that purpose out at a most early time, right? Try to live your purpose out and see who aligns, will be the ultimate test for you to know that you are heading in the right direction, and it'll help you discern the ones who are going to help you get to where you have to go and the ones who are just getting in your way. In the Rose form, there's like, you know, like Zos, there's no real way to go seek this information. No one's going to tell you how to be you. So you have to trust yours too. You have to trust your own purpose and use that as your own personal compass. And once you kind of harness that, then you seek wisdom to help you grow your purpose, but it's yours. No one's going to tell you. No one should tell you it's right or wrong. And if you're looking for that affirmation, then you're always going to be lost. You're never going to really push your agenda forward because you're just listening to the crowd.
Let me take a quick second. Let me take a quick second to. I don't know if they heard that or not, but I'm just letting you know that, like, my boy just dropped the gym just now. Like, if I heard you correctly, if you think that you are called for leadership and you have an intuition, but you are going against that, that inherently disqualifies you from being a leader at the time, right? There's a misalignment. You are not walking in your purpose. So maybe we kind of uncover something. Maybe following your intuition is a form of leadership. You know, although everybody isn't called, but to Cleveland's point earlier, if you are disrespecting the gift by not maximizing and going balls to the wall with it, and if Kevin is saying that you're not being a leader, if you're ignoring the alignment that you have for your life, maybe you're not listening to that intuition and you just already lost. You are disqualified from being a leader.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of taps into Cleveland, right? Because Cleveland mentioned everyone has that characteristic, and I can appreciate that because we're all unique and we're all given that divine purpose to fulfill a greater need, right? And we all have superpowers indirectly and individually. And if we're going to satisfy that condition, and I think we all are leaders in our own light, and we all can learn from each other in our own way, then yeah, I totally agree. I would even so much even add to say, fail early, like look for that purpose as soon as possible. You know,
that's one of my favorite little quotes, yo. Fail early, yo. Get this shit out the way. Learn your lesson. Learn your lesson, yo. But you don't learn your lesson until you try, though. Like, try. If you feel like you have any talent in this space, just give it a shot, and you'll figure it out. Life gonna humble you. You gonna think you'll be hot. All right, watch. Give it a shot. Definitely. Before we get to our takeaways, I did have one final question, and I want to add a little levity to this. Like, make this shit funny. What do y'all say to people who get in the way of progress, thinking they're a leader? You don't get your motherfucking ass out my way. Like,
I say, Var, get the hell out of the way.
What do y'all? How do you operate on a space when you're on a squad where the person who deems himself to be the leader is not holding it down? Like,
I say, yo, pass the ball, son.
Okay, Walt.
Shot.
So this is interesting, right? I think I got two responses to it. I think if you're really in a position where that person is in a leadership role, because we're not talking leadership qualities now, because if that person is in a leadership role but they're not reflecting leadership qualities, it's rocky. I think it's always important to honor that person in a leadership role, meaning you give them common respect, common decency. If they ask you to do something that's not aligned with your own values, or that maybe something that's not within the scope of work that you should be doing, I think in that it's okay to push back then. But in general, I think you have to honor and respect that person if you're in a position where they're like your boss, like your manager, your supervisor, things of that nature. But ultimately, learn from them, man. That's a great representation to you of what not to do when you get in a similar position where you're supposed to have influence. Like, nah, you're not going to just scream at me and yell at me and tell me to move these boxes and I'm just going to do it. Like, well, maybe I will do it, but I'm not going to treat someone else the way that you treat me. If I need to check,
when they leave, when you leave, I'll be talking again.
Exactly, bro. So like,
to get people fired.
Nah, man. Like, yeah, don't send us no emails talking about I followed your advice. And
I told him black people already got history of telling the boss what they ain't gonna do for the day. Like,
I feel like exactly. I'm gonna let Zoe go last. I'm sure he has a rebellious answer. Kev, how do you operate when you're on a team and the person that's supposed to be the leader is probably impeding the progress of the team?
Man, what did LeBron do? He took his talents to South Beach, I think.
It's a good point.
Sometimes you might have to get off the bus, man.
Yeah. That's the podcast intro right there. That's it. That's what LeBron do. That's it right there.
Sometimes you may have to get off the bus, and not in real time, but
that's a good point.
You may have to, because if you're thinking about what's the purpose of this team, it's to drive to this goal, and if the bus driver is not getting us to where we need to go, then we look crazy sitting here trying to hope that they're going to lead us to water. But in order to, how do you handle that in the real moment? You have a one-on-one, because you might just be a leader internally, and the supervisors might have a supervisor title. So there may be an opportunity to coach the leader. You might find your leadership qualities within that moment, and there may be an opportunity for you to excel and to grow just from that experience, But like, don't be afraid to express that. Don't be afraid to share, constructive criticism, because everyone, I think what we dismantled earlier, leadership is not a one size fits all, and some people act that way. Some people actually maneuver in that way. Some people need that different perspective to understand how they like to be talked to and what motivates them. And maybe you can share some insight on, okay, well, maybe I didn't consider that. Maybe I didn't realize that everyone needs to be taught a different kind of way, or led differently, So either get off the bus or help the driver navigate and turn on the GPS for that person.
That's a fact. But either way, there's some action that needs to be required. Don't just sit there like a dodo bird.
There. Yeah,
Don't just sit there like a
Don't
dodo
just
bird.
sit there, operate.
Okay, so how are you if you're on a team with with somebody that is impeding the progress of the team because they call themselves a leader? How do you operate in that space?
Well, I physically dealt with that, not like in that manner, but like I
When
literally
Zoe says physically, he means fist, y'all.
I dealt with that before. You know what I mean? So
I know she owe you money.
No, not that one. It's happened a couple of times. I would say it was like a D Wade LeBron situation where, like, you know how the series against Dallas where LeBron kept like divvying the ball around and like submitting to D Wade until somebody had to say, "Yo, it's your team," kind of deal. Like, yo, you got to take over. Now, unfortunately, in my situation, the person never said that. I just had to tell them, like, you know what, you actually are terrible and you don't know what you're doing. And we could shake in the street if you want to. If not, then know your role, jabroni.
I legit thought that Zoe was going to say that, like, I had to be D-Wade. I had to kind of like set somebody up. I felt they were great. I just don't think that they understood it. Zoe was like, nah, actually you're trash. I need you to get the fuck out the way.
That's what I'm saying. It took it before, like I kept saying and trying to explain the difference between the two. Like, you know, here's what I do, here's what you do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're the lead. These are how people looking, and I'll play the back. I don't care playing the back. I don't mind it. But if I'm gonna be a background singer, don't mess up the words to the song, please. That's all I'm saying. Don't mess it up. You mess it up. Now I have to come to the forefront. So I will give the person the chance, but I think during the time frame of me taking over as the leader, I'm telling them until finally it's like, all right, well, too late. Like, I got.
What if you're not the leader? What if you're like, because like Zoe's personality is very
aggressive.
Nah, I'm not gonna use that word. I wouldn't use that word aggressive. I'm gonna use he's going to take action. Like he's assertive.
Yeah,
okay. But I can see how someone who is a leader in Zoe's team that is not as good as maybe even Zoe or someone who's worse on the worst person on the team. And Zoe's naturally going to, I got it. Get out the way. I'll take over. Right. But in the sense of what if you're not given the title? What if you're not given that access, essentially? What if you don't have that ability to do that? What if that's just not even within the reach? Is
that's
my question
a good ass question. So, like, for me, well, in the situation I'm referencing, that person was yelling to me and said, "I'm the this, I'm the that." So it's like, whoa, like, I mean, you got the pride, you got the greed.
Okay, big man.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you do with VAR? Usually when you say that, okay, big man, you like let them hang themselves, right? Like,
right.
Do you, my nigga? Like, I don't care. So that's the situation I was into where I had to, like, you know what, this is not even going to work out. Like,
right.
But I agree.
Take your team.
Take your talent to South Beach.
Yeah, like, you know what I'm saying? So honestly, that's what I did, Kev. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm out of here. Like, this is not what it's hitting for. But I do agree with Kev. Like, how to answer that question is, I guess it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, is like knowing who you're serving, right? Knowing your audience.
Right.
And then you also knowing your teammates. So then that empathy that I use is like trying to understand, like, yo, you see the potential in a person. You should be able to see the potential in a person. And then you analyze what is their version of leadership. Like that. Like,
ooh,
like
see,
that.
now that's clutch. We spoke about a lot of things, but what we didn't dive deep into is what people respond to. Some people respond to violence. Some people respond to certain verbal cues. Some people respond to action. And I think that depending on what industry you're in, who you're talking to, who your audience is, you gotta know how the person you are looking to influence responds. You can talk to a child all day. They are going to ignore you until it's time for that action. And it's like, I will wash dishes. Matter of fact, I'm going to do it right now. Like, you know what I mean? It kind of just depends on like how that person responds.
How they receive the message, right?
Right.
But that's the thing. So, like, it's funny you say that. And I don't know if y'all remember, I think I said this sometime last season where I'm like, is it me, or do 90% of people only respect fear? Like, do they only operate after you, like, damn near threaten their life? And
Oh,
like,
this is a whole nother vibe,
that
because
is another topic, but it kind of.
I think no, but I think what you're saying, people are conditioned by the media to only respond when things hit your doorstep and it's going to affect you, right? If we say, hey, y'all, this is this COVID disease, but what we need you to do is put a mask on, because if you protect yourself, you're saving everybody. And they're like, oh, so you mean that if I don't wear a mask, I'm not hurting myself? Bet. It's like, yo, it's mind blowing that it has to be personal in order for that person to move. So,
well, look what happened in Dallas, right? Is that Dallas where the freezing temperatures and all that stuff?
yes, so it's a lot of Texas. It's almost
a lot of
the whole
Texas. Let's
state.
just say a lot of Texas, right? So our whole infrastructure is based off of snow and cold and stuff like that, because that's just how our climate
houses,
is.
roads, salt.
The trucks be on point. We don't play no games, right? So they don't know what to do with a little bit. Like that ice that you seen, like the 55 car pileup. Like, bro, we just had that last Friday, and I was driving home like it's nothing. You see what I'm saying? So I say that to say that, like, people didn't take when we were giving them the advice on, like, listen, you guys should pay attention to this global this, the warming this, the environmental this, because until look what happened. Boom, smacked them right in the face, and now everything's.
But leadership also is not being motivated by super external factors like money, because people know common sense that global warming is real. Here's an example, and I'll say this and then we'll wrap up. If you understand that there's a thing that may not affect you today, but could affect you in 2 or 3 days, you should probably take care of it today. Yes, that's leadership, being able to see it before it happens. Also, understanding that you have to have empathy for people, even if you're not going through this thing, because these are the people who you are serving. Referencing Ted Cruz going to Mexico, right? So it's like you have to exhibit these qualities of a leader before the credit is even associated. What are you doing in the shadows to hold it down, so when the light gets shined on you, you are ready? And that's the thing. People aren't leaders. They want the accolades, they want the shine, but they don't do the work.
They want the stage, but they don't want none of the work, none of the prep.
So with that being said, let's go around. Let's give give your one takeaway. Yeah, you give your actionable item, your one takeaway of how to lean in to the intuition of leadership. If you're being called to leadership, how do you lean in and actually decide to do that thing that's against the grain? Like, how do you begin to listen to that voice inside?
I would say something we've been saying already throughout the course of this podcast is following your purpose, or those things that are inside of you that are inside of you. Follow that. And that sounds kind of vague, and honestly, back in the day, it used to frustrate me when people said that, because not a lot of people give concepts on how you identify what your purpose is. They just say, like, follow your purpose, right? So the actionable items I would say in discovering your purpose is pay attention to the things that you do well with the least amount of effort, and start building your skill set or building your excellence on those things. So whatever it is that you do well with a small amount of effort, follow that. And then I would say B, anything that when it happens or you do it, it gives you more energy, like you get energized when you do it, follow that. And then the last thing I would say is that anything that you see and it upsets you, like it makes you angry when this happens, follow that too. And I think those three pieces are what kind of helps to mold or three pillars for your purpose. Something you do well with little effort, something that gives you energy when you do it, and something, if you see it, it bothers you and you just have a desire to change it. So follow those three things, work on those three things.
You know what? I'm going to switch it up, because I think that we have a lot of good content here. So I'm going to give you a different question, Zoe, but something that you spoke to earlier. Zoe, what would you say to people who are struggling on how to move people with either verbal or action-oriented leadership? How do they figure out which one works for them or the people that they're serving?
If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. Get rid of them. Burn it down. I would probably say, well, see, that's the hard part. Like you have to learn people, and learning people takes time. So a lot of people don't want to do the work. They don't want to take the time.
So step one, be patient.
Yes, that's definitely true. And be proactive, not reactive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like how you said it. If you know something's gonna injure you, or like, let's say I gotta get a test, and when you turn 40, something you gotta get a colonoscopy.
Or text time is in April every year.
Exactly. Why are we still? Oh, it's funny you say that. Quick sidebar, right? So the Department of Buildings in New York has these, when you're on a construction site, you have to have an OSHA card, right? Well, just like if you're in a restaurant, they have various different like versions of OSHA, but the construction OSHA, right? So years ago, they said OSHA 30. You need an OSHA 30, which is 30 hours of training in order to get on the site. Now, within the last year, they said you need another 2-hour alcohol and drug training because motherfuckers be lit on the site. And I guess they had too many. A lot of this comes from like cases when they have incidents happen. Now they like require you to have that. And then another 8-hour fall protection, because I'm not gonna lie, like a year or two ago, they had a couple of incidents in New York where people like fell off buildings, and
holy smokes.
Right? So on some construction stuff, right? They wasn't tied off or whatever. So now they're making you take another 10-hour classes of training that is required. September, they said September 1st was the SST course, which is safety training, right? They pushed it back because of COVID. They're like, yo, all these people we told their deadline was September 1st, but remember, we lost 4 months of work, so we can't hold these people to the same, requirements to have it. Right. We're gonna push it to March 1st. Bro, I had 15 people hit me up in the last 24 hours. How do I get that license? Bro, they extended it in September, and now you hitting me, and March 1st is in 5 days.
Yep.
That's the type of stuff you just said, bro. Like, they literally wait to the last.
Just take care of it, yo. Just take care of it.
You know what's gonna happen, bro. You know what's coming. Procrastination ain't key. Like, so
it's not, it is not.
So I would say definitely being proactive, and then learning to people, be patient. Because patience is a virtue. My dad used to always tell me as a kid, patience is a virtue. And that's the way to do it. Now, patience is not being a sucker, because patience can turn into being abused.
And take your talents to South Beach.
Yeah, as Kev said, it always will revert back to that if the definition of insanity comes into play. We're doing the same thing over and over, but expecting different results. So if you're not getting those results, take your talents to South Beach.
Which brings it to the chef to bring us home. Kev, what do you think what advice would you give for somebody who has to learn how to effectively influence people in order to effectively lead them?
I think that people who have to first look at themselves. What are you gotta have integrity. You need to have integrity.
Big. That's major, because
everything just fall in line when you're moving with that move, when you're moving with integrity, and then after you have discovered what your principles you will stand on, then you need to learn the culture of the place you're going to lead, understanding it's just you're serving rather than you're doing for yourself, obviously. Just understanding the culture, understanding the objectives, understanding the goals, so you can be the best servant. And I'll end with that because I'll end with that because Cleveland mentioned something earlier that kind of struck a chord, and I was getting ready to say it earlier when I was like, I wanted to say you're serving, but you forget that, and that's the role. So have integrity and remember that you're serving.
I think that gives. I add one more thing, and it's aligned with what y'all mentioned with patience. Of use other people's failures as your fuel. Being able to pinpoint things that have gone wrong that you've seen, use that to your advantage. If you see the person before you in the same role put their hand on the stove and it was hot, don't do it. Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Yes.
Just don't do it.
That's the truth.
That's all I got. That's all I got. So as we wrap up, we're going to.
Oh man.
No. We're We're going to give it to Zoe for the Serenity Prayer.
Well, this Serenity Prayer, I'm gonna say it with some conviction, because like I need this. I need to like listen to myself on this one because of everything that's been going on. But we're gonna ask God to grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two.
And we had a grand opening. We're going to have a grand closing. This was episode 32 of the Juxtaposition Podcast. We'll see y'all next week.